Jason and I are the punchline couple of the upper crust. He went after his first love, chased a high-speed train in a fury, got into an accident, and lost the use of his legs. I'd carried a 10-year crush on the boy next door, but never dared confess. After we married, we made hate every single day. I mocked him. You can't even stand up trying to play the lovesick husband chasing his wife back. He shot back, unlike some people who can't even confess. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in high school. This time, I was going to work up the nerve and confess to my childhood crush. That night, the boy legs whole, pinned me to the wall, eyes rimmed, red. If you're really going to be with him, then pretend I'm dead. On TikTok, I scrolled past a video of a clean-cut campus heartthrob confessing to his girl next door in front of everyone, hugging my tablet. I smashed the like button. Childhood sweethearts are the GOAT. When I turn 19, I want a love like that too. Jason, in his wheelchair, snapped a file shut and rubbed his brow. Annoyed. Isabel, can you keep it down? Then, as if remembering something, he gave a mirthless snort. You didn't even dare confess back then. Like hell you could date anyone. My thumb froze mid-scroll, and a sour sting crept up my nose. I'd had a crush on my childhood friend Luke for as long as I could remember, but I was terrified that confessing and failing would cost me even our friendship. 5 years ago, he vanished, without a word, to work overseas. My family went bankrupt, and I unexpectedly married Jason, who already had a girl on a pedestal. 10 years of unrequited love, all for nothing. The more I thought about it, the sadder I felt, and I got up to turn in for the night. Passing Jason, I got madder and gave his wheelchair a light kick. Who tries to copy that chasing your wife act when you can't even stand? You. Jason's face went iron blue with rage. In the 3 years I'd been married to Jason, we couldn't stand each other except in bed. Shutting him up put me in a great mood. I even slept better. I don't know how long I'd been out when someone nudged my arm. I frowned, impatient. Jason, don't mess with me tonight, okay? Laughter burst around me. Haha, Isabel fell asleep in class and woke up all confused. Looks like that rumor on the school forum was true. She's crazy about Jason, the study god. Yeah, crying like that the other day, and now talking big. Class? School forum? What the hell? I blinked my eyes open and saw Jason in a school uniform, a flush rising on his pale face. It wasn't until the teacher tossed me into the hall to stand that it hit me. I'd time-traveled? Back to my student days, 10 years ago. The sunset bled like spilled paint. Inside, voices rose and fell in study. Through the glass, I stared at the intact legs under Jason's desk, and the clean white sneakers on his feet, the soles peeling at the edges. Who would have guessed this broke, quiet boy would one day become a hard-driving, take-no-prisoners titan of business? First order of time travel business. Cozy up to him if not to ride his coattails, at least to build some goodwill. At lunch in the cafeteria, I sat straight across from him. He lifted those dark eyes to meet mine. What is it? I pulled out my phone, opened the school forum, found a post, and slid it to him. School Queen Jessica blocks campus genius Jason to confess. Isabel suspected heartbroken, sprawls on the lawn sobbing like the world's ending. The thread had hundreds of comments. That morning, my high school memories had been flooding back. The first thing I remembered was this ridiculous post. Whoever dreamed up that headline, why not go write a novel? Back then, senior year pressure was brutal, and after school I'd go behind the building to feed a stray cat. Over time it went from wary to rubbing against my pant leg. Later, someone poisoned it. When I buried it, I broke down bawling, never noticing someone nearby, pouring out a love confession. The girl was my archenemy and Jason's lifelong one that got away. Jessica, after I married Jason. His assistant told me he'd heard Jessica was going abroad to get married and, for love, chased a high-speed train crashing and landing in a coma. Even then, he kept calling one name, Jessica, but nobody knows Jessica better than I do. She wears a sweet, innocent face, but loves watching poor boys fight over her. In private, right in front of friends, she'd say, "Seeing guys like that fall for me step by step gives me a high I can't explain." After I finished explaining the forum incident, my throat was dry. I took a small sip from the bottle on the table. Jason's face was blank. I couldn't tell if he believed me. After a long beat, he said mildly, "Oh, you're drinking my water." For a moment, I had no idea what to say. Jason needed money. Money was the one thing I had. I hired him at a high rate to tutor me after school, and I made a point of steering clear of Jessica every day. This time, I wasn't going to watch Jason break his legs again. Because after we married, even if he didn't love me and we bickered non-stop, he never shorted me. He knew I married him to save my dad's failing company, and he still agreed without hesitation. At the library, Jason seemed a little off. His long lashes drooped, and his slender fingers gently rubbed his brow. I spread my book open and, gossip-minded, asked, "Do you like the girl who confessed to you that day?" Jason lowered his eyes. "Unreadable. Why do you ask?" I shook my head and unzipped my pencil case. "No reason. I just wanted to tell you, no matter how much you like her, you put your safety first, okay?" It was my warning to him. His dark eyes stayed calm, as if he couldn't tell what I meant. In that moment, something mean and petty flickered up in me. Maybe in my eyes, Jessica's awful. But what if, to Jason, she's worth everything? The air turned awkward. I pointed at a physics problem. "Enough small talk. I can't do this. Can you walk me through it?" Jason picked up his pen, skimmed the question, then started writing on scrap, carefully explaining each formula we needed. Snow drifted outside. The knuckles of his writing hand were red from the cold, and those long, elegant hands were chapped with cold sores. Okay, I get it." I snatched the pen from his hand and tucked a hand warmer into his arms. He froze, then, coming back to himself, only dared rest his hands on the outside layer. Was Teen Jason really this well-behaved? Then the chatterbox Jason I married had to be a fake, right? After finishing one problem, I pointed at another. "I don't get this physics one either, Jason. Take a look." He picked up the pen and, while explaining, asked offhand, "Didn't you say you hated physics most?" As soon as the words left his mouth, he must have thought they sounded off, because he added, "Heard you griping to your friends every day." I lowered my eyes. "I want to get into a university overseas, to find a friend." The pen in his hand froze, his knuckles going white. Jason's brows drew together, and his expression suddenly turned cold. He set the pen down, his voice frosty. "I'm not doing the rest." "Liar. You just finished that problem in 3 minutes. And you're the campus genius. For crying out loud. What a joke." Just like 10 years later, Jason's moods flipped on a dime. I've never been able to figure him out. The air between us went chilly when my phone buzzed twice on the desk. A message from Luke. "Isabel, I'll be back the day after tomorrow. Come pick me up, will you?" Luke's back this time, for an alumni speech at school. More than half the student body showed up. I sat in the front row, staring at the figure in the spotlight. Girls nearby whispered, "Luke's so handsome. Wonder if he has a girlfriend." Forget it. I heard the line of girls he's turned down could stretch to France. With looks like that, who wouldn't fall for him? I liked Luke too, just like most girls my age with their first crush. For as long as I could remember, Luke had been the brightest among all my playmates. Grades, looks, family, character. He was top tier in every way. Every girl I knew had confessed to him at some point. The one I remember best was when a girl from our circle confessed to him in front of everyone. Luke lounged back on the sofa, looking annoyed, and hooked an arm around my neck. "Every single one of you has an angle, huh? Guess our Isabel's the only one who really treats me like a brother." Sipping my juice, I ducked my head in guilt, because truth was, I had the least pure motives of all. I was just too chicken to confess. Seeing the crushed look on that girl's face, my chest ached even more. Failing meant you couldn't even stay friends. A burst of applause yanked me back to the present. The speech was over. Luke walked over. Talking that long worked up an appetite. We went to the cafeteria together. While we ate, plenty of eyes turned our way. I hated those prying stares, even clearing our trays. People kept glancing over. Walking out of the cafeteria, I muttered, "You've got way too many admirers. Feels like walking around with a gorilla in the zoo." My voice was low, but Luke still caught it. Suddenly he asked, "What about you, Isabel? Do you like me?" I looked up in shock, meeting his smiling eyes. That steady gaze made a wild thought flash through my mind. Could it be he liked me too? Distracted, I forgot I was going down the steps. My foot slipped, and I pitched forward hard. The staircase was long. If Luke hadn't grabbed me in time, I'd probably be in the ICU sipping rice porridge. As it was, I scraped the skin on my ankle and twisted it a little. The school nurse dabbed on antiseptic cream, making my eyes water. Afterward, he told us to stay for observation. Luke sat beside the bed, flipping through my recent test papers. "Your grades are improving fast. Got a dream school yet? And I hear you've got a crush?" Luke had access to our school forum. I shook my head awkwardly. "Not true, they're just making stuff up. As for college, I haven't decided yet." He closed my papers, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Then come to my university. I can wait for you, Isabel." His words left me dizzy. Only after he stepped out to take a call did I start to collect myself. What did he mean by that? If I'd imagined it before the fall, I definitely hadn't this time. While my mind was in knots, a nervous female voice called from the infirmary door. "Doctor, Jason's got a bad headache. Please take a look." It was Jessica. Then came Jason's voice. "No need. I'll just rest for a period." Jessica sounded close to tears. "How can you say that?" There was a rustle, like the doctor was checking him over. While the nurse fetched medicine, Jessica's shy voice drifted through the curtain. "Jason, is it because you like Isabel that you turned me down?" The air went silent for a few seconds. I gripped the sheet, pretending I was invisible. After a while, Jason's hoarse voice came from next door. "No." Jessica's lips curled in relief. "That's a load off my mind." For some reason, bitterness spread in my mouth, and I didn't even know why. The next morning, the wound had gotten infected, and I woke with a fever. Luke took me to get a sick leave slip. I was woozy, waiting at the stairwell for him to walk me home, when the class bell rang and Jason stepped out from the other end of the hall, a math contest registration form in hand. I kept my gaze on the white bandage around my ankle. Suddenly, a tall shadow fell over me. Jason's clean, cool voice sounded above my head. "Finals are coming up. Want me to come over after school and tutor you?" I looked up, my voice rough. "No, thanks." Just then, Luke came out of the office with the slip. He took my arm and led me away, heading in the opposite direction from Jason. I figured, now that I had a second chance, he and I probably wouldn't cross paths again. Hopefully, he'd take my earlier advice to heart. After the new term started, the teacher let us choose seats based on our final exam rankings. Jason went first. He walked in and went straight to his old spot, middle row, right side, by the window. When it was my turn, I picked third row, far right, by the window. Outside were rows of cherry trees. By late March, they'd be in full bloom. From then on, I never went out of my way to talk to Jason again, only hearing at the award ceremony that he'd won another math prize. This year, the school's guaranteed admission spot was his without question, but after pocketing the contest prize money, he still took the college entrance exam and handed the spot to another student, probably so he could go to the same school as Jessica. But that had nothing to do with me anymore. The day the exams ended was the first time I truly felt I'd gotten a do-over. The bell rang, and freedom rushed in like the wind. Walking out of the exam hall, I watched girls fling themselves into their boyfriends' arms, faces lit with happiness, and it hit me, had I really never dated anyone before marrying Jason. "Isabel, over here!" Luke stood not far away, calling to me with my family. I suddenly remembered that 2 days before the college entrance exam break, my deskmate got into fortune-telling. She said, "Isabel, this month is perfect for romance. Your chances of a successful confession are 80%. Was this fate telling me to make up for future regrets? Then I was going to take the plunge, no matter the outcome." The result was, after the exams, I went out and cut loose with my deskmate, Shi Yuan, for several days, before I even remembered the whole confession thing. In the end, Luke was the one who messaged me first. "Want me to take you out tonight?" "Can't. I've got a high school reunion." "Then text me when it's over. I'll come pick you up." "Okay." The night was buzzing with restless heat. I'd put on makeup, wearing a black princess dress I'd just bought yesterday, while shopping with Shi Yuan, a style I'd never tried before. When I arrived at the private room, the party was already in full swing. I slipped into a corner seat. Shi Yuan came over through the crowd, laughing as she bumped my shoulder. "Oh my God, I knew this dress would look amazing on you. In your school uniform, you're just the usual good girl. But who knew you had such a figure? Forget the guy you're planning to confess to. I'm falling for you myself." "You still haven't told me, is he from our class?" She was getting more and more worked up, and plenty of our classmates were starting to glance our way. "Keep your voice down." I quickly covered her mouth and made a shushing gesture. My eyes darted around, and in my panic I met Jason's gaze from a corner not far away. Didn't he never come to these reunions? Completely out of place. I thought of our last fight after marriage, when Jason had sneered, "You didn't even dare confess. Like hell you could date anyone." I'd never told anyone about liking Luke. Not even Luke himself knew. So how did Jason find out? Before I could think, Shi Yuan was pressing me again about which class he was in. I picked up the fruit wine on the table and took a sip. "Not from our school." By the time the party was halfway through, I downed 3 glasses, enough to give me courage, but not enough to get me truly drunk. When someone shouted about moving on to dinner, I checked the time. It was already late. I said goodbye to the host and stepped out of the private room. I was just debating whether to text Luke when a hand yanked me into the stairwell. It was Jason, not a stranger, so my guard dropped instantly. He reeked of alcohol, and I could tell he was in a foul mood. "Jason, are you angry? Who ticked you off?" Jason suddenly leaned in, a mocking laugh on his lips. "Are you asking the 19-year-old Jason or the 27-year-old Jason?" My mind felt like it had been smashed with a mallet. Could it be that Jason had come back too? In the dim stairwell light, I looked closely. He might have been wearing a plain t-shirt, but there was no trace of boyishness in those slightly red eyes, only anger and the commanding air of someone in power. I didn't even know how to face him, my grip tightening on my purse. "When did you come back?" "Just now." And the moment he came back, hearing she planned to confess to someone else, a storm of frustration rose in him with nowhere to go. 19-year-old Jason was angry. 27-year-old Jason was furious. I pouted. "What are you mad about? I didn't do anything wrong. We used to be married, but now we're not. We can each go find." My words were cut off by cold lips. It wasn't a kiss so much as a bite. The tang of iron spread between my lips, and I tried to pull away, but my back was against the icy wall and I couldn't shove him off. I don't know how long it took before he finally let me go. My lip was split, and I was sobbing from the pain. "Jason, what gives you the right to bully me?" His grip on my arm tightened, his voice cold. "If you really want to be with that guy, are you saying I'm dead?" I stayed silent, just pathetically shedding tears. He pressed on. "Isabel, do you hate me?" Did I? Well, right now I kind of did. The alcohol had gone to my head, and I couldn't figure out why Jason, with someone he liked in his heart, still wouldn't leave me alone. Before I could answer, he kissed me again, the scent of liquor mingling with a rising heat in the cramped space. Between the clash of lips and teeth, I heard him say, "Even if you hate me, I don't want to stop." That night ended with me slapping Jason across the face. After telling Luke my family was picking me up, the more I thought about it, the more it burned Jason had bitten my lip on purpose, ruining my confession plan completely. The next morning, as soon as I turned my phone on, It was flooded with messages, all from one person. No matter what you think, to me, we're still married. Forget about being with Luke. It's not happening. Marriage Law, Article 1, 1041. Marriage and family are protected by the state. The institution of marriage is based on freedom, monogamy, and equality between men and women. Marriage Law, Article 1042. Bigamy is prohibited. Those with a spouse are prohibited from cohabiting with others. Domestic violence is prohibited. Abuse and abandonment among family members are prohibited. Isabel, did you see that? What caught my attention were the last 3 messages sent at 7 in the morning. Awake? Still hurt? Come down. I bought ointment. So, after sending me home last night, had he not left at all? I pulled open the curtains, and sure enough, there he was, on the bench downstairs. I went down, bringing a freshly made cup of soy milk. Drink it, and then go home to sleep. I told myself I was only doing this because I didn't want him dropping dead at my doorstep. He took the soy milk, and I glanced over to see the cut at the corner of his mouth was even worse than mine. Was this guy a dog? To bite me. He'd bitten himself too. I said, Jason, 10 years from now, we both had other people in our hearts and just shared a life out of convenience. Now that we've come back, do we really have to repeat the same mistake? Jason cut me off coldly. Forget it. I told you, you can only be with me. I nearly stamped my foot. Why are you so domineering? You're head over heels for Jessica, but you won't let me find my own happiness? Jason frowned. I never liked Jessica. I was in the infirmary that day with Jessica. I heard your whole conversation. You said yourself you didn't like me, so what right do you have to control me? Jason was at a loss. When had he ever said he didn't like Isabel? Then he realized the misunderstanding. Isabel, when I said no, I meant it wasn't because I liked you that I turned her down, but that even without you, I'd still have rejected her. I had a terrible headache and didn't feel like explaining. If I'd known you were there, I would have finished the sentence. All his circling around was giving me a headache. Like hell, I believe you. I pouted, getting up to go home and catch some more sleep. Isabel, Jason called after me. I stopped. My legs are fine. I can stand now. In the faint whisper of the wind, I heard Jason's voice, with the slightest, almost undetectable tremor in it. When we sent Luke off overseas, both our families were there. At security, he turned back and gave me a smile. On the way home, I thought about a lot of things. It felt like before my rebirth. Luke had also said something like that to me, but it was to the real 18-year-old Isabel. Back then, she couldn't understand, and didn't dare to. That night, even with the help of alcohol, maybe I wouldn't have confessed. Even though I'd gone back to high school, my mind was no longer that of an 18 or 19-year-old girl. At 18, Isabel's heart would race at the sight of Luke's face, and she'd want to be with him. But at 26, Isabel instinctively thought about many other things. Like how Luke's ambitions lay overseas, to make something big of himself, while I didn't want to be too far from home and my aspirations weren't so lofty. In his free time, he liked thrill-seeking sports, like rock climbing and racing, while I preferred staying home tending flowers. His gentleness was on the surface. Underneath, there was a ruthlessness most people never saw. I was the opposite. From the moment we met again at the airport, maybe I should have known Luke and I were not suited for each other. I might have already, without realizing it, fallen for someone else. As I walked out of the airport, a beggar coming toward me bumped my shoulder. He was in a hurry, but still turned his head to apologize. Sorry. It's fine. I tugged at the corner of my lips. That face looked strangely familiar, but no matter how I racked my brain, I couldn't place where I'd seen him before. Until his back grew smaller and smaller, disappearing into the sea of people. That night, I had a dream about the time I'd been kidnapped. In the dream, it was my junior year of college, an incident the police described as extremely dangerous, though to me it had felt like I'd simply slept through it. That year, I'd been walking down the street when two strange men suddenly grabbed me. My memory contained only being drugged, tied up in the back seat, and waking up safe in a hospital bed. The police stood at my bedside, telling my parents it had been a very dangerous ordeal. The two kidnappers had been fugitives on the run for 5 or 6 years, recently targeted again by the police. They decided to take a hostage to try to escape, and I was the unlucky one. If they realized their escape plan had failed, they wouldn't hesitate to kill me as cover. Luckily, their car got into an accident en route. One died and the other was badly injured, and both were immediately captured. The crash hit at just the right angle, so the back seat took the least damage, leaving me unscathed. Just as I was feeling relieved, the scene in the dream shifted inside the kidnapper's car. I was tied up in the back, unconscious. The man in the passenger seat glanced nervously at the rearview mirror. "Boss, besides the cops, there's some damn sports car that's been tailing us." The driver kept his eyes fixed ahead, lips curling into a devilish grin. "Who cares? Once we're off this stretch, we'll lose them." The intersection ahead grew closer and closer. Then the sports car suddenly accelerated, slamming into the kidnapper's vehicle before anyone could react. The roar of engines, police sirens, shouting, it all crashed into my mind. Cops swarmed in, and through the rising dust I saw the driver of that sports car, Jason. Blood streamed down his forehead, and he was already unconscious. I rushed toward him to try and save him, but somehow I was only a bystander, unable to move. The scene shifted again to the hospital. This time, I saw Jason's personal assistant, Xiao Chen. The surgery light went off, and the doctor came out, shaking his head at Xiao Chen. In the end, we couldn't save Mr. Jason's legs. At 1 a.m, I jolted awake. I wanted to tell myself it was just a dream, but it had been so vivid that even thinking about it afterward left me cold to the bone. My hands trembled as I typed on my phone. "Jason, I want to see you," he replied instantly. "Get dressed and come downstairs in 20 minutes. No, send me your location. I'm coming to you." The typing bubble stayed up for a long time, like he was debating something, before a location came through. When I found him, he was standing under a street lamp at the mouth of a small alley, tall and striking. When he saw me get out of the car, he walked toward me. My throat tightened as I fought back tears. "In the last life, your legs weren't ruined chasing a train. They were hurt saving me, weren't they?" Jason said nothing, his steps freezing mid-stride, as if shocked I knew. If I hadn't asked, were you never going to explain? This time, there was no hesitation. Yes. My eyes burned red with anger, but I didn't know how to respond. We stood there for I don't know how long before Jason frowned, grabbed my wrist, and started walking. My legs felt like they were filled with lead, each step heavy. He pressed me down onto a bench. "Sit first." From his shorts pocket, he pulled out a bottle of floral mosquito repellent. Lowering my eyes, I noticed the swollen welts on my calf. He crouched down, carefully dabbing it on. My nose stung even more. "Why do you carry this around?" "When you said you were coming, I knew the mosquitoes here were vicious, so I bought it from the corner shop." As he applied the medicine, he hesitated for a moment before saying, "I didn't tell you because I didn't want you coming to me out of guilt. What I want is for you to truly like me." But knowing now, all I felt was heartache. I muttered softly, "I'm not the kind of person who'd be with someone out of guilt." Jason was smart enough to hear the unspoken meaning. From where I sat, I could see the flush creeping up his neck. The silence stretched so long I started to feel nervous. Finally, Jason set the bottle down and sat beside me. "The results come out in 2 days. Where do you want to go to college?" "I haven't decided yet, but this time I want to study medicine." Jason thought seriously for a moment, then quickly settled on a plan. "Let's go to university in Sea City. It's close to home, and both of us have suitable majors there." When the scores came out, I'd done over 40 points better than I'd estimated, earning a spot at the best medical school in Sea University. On my first day, Jason drove me there. His term started 2 days later. Worried the kidnapping might happen again, Jason bought an apartment near both our universities. If I had a lot of classes, I stayed in the dorms. Fewer, I went home. Even knowing his incredible business talent, I was still shocked to learn he'd made enough over the summer to buy the place outright. On the way to campus, I sat in the passenger seat, sneaking glances at him now and then. Jason was wearing a black dress shirt today, collar just loose enough to reveal a hint of his collarbone, making his jawline look even sharper. I pressed my dry lips together, my shallow, looks-obsessed side going wild, yet something still felt off. Jason, are you showing off like a peacock today? At a red light, Jason turned to look at me. Didn't I always dress like this at home? I thought back and realized, yeah, that was true. Jason had a thing for shirts. Over half his closet was full of them, mostly in black and white. Maybe it was because I'd gotten used to seeing him in his high school get-up, but how had I never noticed he was this good-looking before? Once on campus, he pulled my suitcase in one hand and held my hand with the other, only leaving after everything was settled. Sure enough, by that afternoon, the campus forum's hottest topic was all about him. Ah, he's so handsome I could die. Huh? Are you serious? I know him. He's my brother's sister's husband. You get it, right? He's finally become an NPC in a campus romance novel. Didn't even manage that in high school. When I saw it, I forwarded the post to Jason with the caption, "You sure are popular," plus a snarky emoji. 10 minutes later, Jason sent the post right back to me. I clicked in to see a new update. All right, everyone disperse. He's from the neighboring school, and he's already taken. The screenshot was from Weibo, Jason's account, showing a selfie of the two of us, faces close together. What a perfect match. And the girl's gorgeous too. Knew it, guys. This devastatingly handsome either have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. I knew I was one of those fictional netizens losing it. Thanks to that chain of events, by military training season, practically everyone knew I was dating Jason from the neighboring school. I had to admit, in the game of calculated moves, I was no match for him. Over the National Day holiday, Jason took me to the train station. When I got home, I texted him, "I'm here. Happy holiday." He replied instantly, "Happy holiday, baby." Sitting on the couch, I thought back last lifetime. On every holiday, big or small, except Valentine's Day and our wedding anniversary, Jason had always told me to go spend time with my family. I'd once thought it was because he didn't like me, but the more I thought about it, the more I suspected he'd been hiding something. After telling my parents, I bought the earliest ticket back to Sea City. The cities weren't far, 3 hours by a high-speed rail. Once at the apartment, I hid my shoes and climbed into the wardrobe, peeking through the crack to watch the living room. 10 minutes later, I heard the faint sounds of the door opening. It was Jason. He set down what he was carrying, opened his laptop, then went to the kitchen to boil water. I pulled out my phone and texted, "Jason, what are you doing right now?" Through the gap, I watched him expertly make instant noodles before texting back, "Out, having a big meal with friends." Classic liar Jason. Then look behind you. He froze, actually glanced back, then gave a small, rueful laugh, like he realized he'd been duped. I carefully slid open the wardrobe door and tiptoed toward him. But before I could pounce, he pinned me to the sofa instead. "How did you know?" I asked. Jason flicked his eyes toward a mirror across from the bedroom. "Why did you never spend holidays with me before?" His smile was strained. I grew up under other people's roofs, moved out in middle school, and never celebrated holidays. I was afraid you'd think it was boring to spend them with me. People who love from a place of humility are always so careful. I swallowed down the bitterness in my throat. Then why not go out and eat with friends, instead of holing up at home working, too busy to even cook? "Isabel, I can't wait to marry you." His voice carried a deep, weary undertone. I pulled him to lie on my lap. "Don't talk, just sleep for a bit." Before I could finish, my stomach growled twice. I hadn't eaten lunch and had sat through hours of train travel. Of course I was hungry. "I'm starving." Jason couldn't help but laugh. My face flushed as I rushed to cover his mouth. "You're not allowed to laugh!" He stood, grabbing his jacket. "Then let's go grocery shopping together." And just like that, we went. After dinner, Jason planned to work on programming. I stalled him with kisses for over 10 minutes, feeling his body heat up, then deliberately pushed him away. "All right, go work." Jason gave in. Completely. It'll be the same whether I do it now or later. Straightening up, he started undoing his cuffs, then froze, mid-motion, as if remembering something. His voice went hoarse as he scooped me off the sofa. "Baby, go put on that little black dress." Huh? What little black dress? I was utterly lost. The next second, Jason gave an awkward chuckle. "You really do look good in that dress." The word "good" sounded like he bit it out from between his teeth. My lips twitched. I didn't even know how to respond. So we weren't ever going to get past that, huh? That night, Jason never did get around to writing code.